All right, guys, we are live recording. It's Ricky and Goose. I do want to start off because we are recording this just with a short disclaimer, just saying anything we're talking about in this that you guys are listening to, or that you read, or that we show you, is just for informational purposes, guys. You guys do your own trading, make your own ideas, and you know, uh, leave it at that. Not much more to say. Just don't follow what we're doing. You guys have your own plans, but this is just informational purposes. Charlie's interrupting me. Sorry, guys. Anything else you want to add to that disclaimer, bud?
Just make sure you guys crush it.
Crush it. So, I have a really important subject I want to start off with while I still have the wind in my sails, um, and I think this is really important. And I've talked about this in the past, and I kind of wish there was more people from the other side that was around to hear this, because I got a message this morning or today. And I've asked you guys tons of times. You guys know my door is open to you guys, and quite a few people have actually taken advantage of it. Whether it's sitting with me in person, a couple friends now, or called me. I've talked on the phone with folks. I mean, I'm an open book for you guys to try to help out. And I've always said, and the few people that have talked to me will tell you, all it takes is one conversation. And one tiny little thing you pull out of the conversation, it blows my mind sometimes when people are not where they want to be in their careers, that they don't try to make that extra effort. It makes a huge difference. I pick Titus's brain every day on stuff. Hey, I did this, saw this. What do you think? Just to try to get myself better. I think you guys should. I think you guys missed the boat on that. Especially if you want to be a fundamental guy, you should be picking Ricky's brain. And I mean, there's so many different aspects of this business that are so intriguing, and that's kind of the lead-in that I want to go. I got a message earlier, and what it had to do with, and I'm going to try to summarize it. It was a little bit longer. I'm pulling it back up as I'm talking to you. And in summary, and the person that did send it to me, I know you're listening, so you could always send me a personal message if I'm missing something in there. But I'm going to kind of paraphrase it a little bit. And they've been doing this for a few years now, and they've hit a point most recently where they're just kind of struggling. It's been they've tried different styles of trading and they're not working. And one of the biggest things in the note is there's a few things in here I want to touch on. Was they're finding that their losers are bigger. They're more sized and they're bigger than any of their winners, even their good trades that are winners. But all their losers seem to always be bigger. And where do I go from here? I'm trying this, I'm trying that, and it's just not working. Like there's and it's a lost feeling. And I want to touch base on a few things on this. I'm reading this as I'm talking to you guys, and I think this is kind of really important. And I'm reading this and talking to you because the reason I'm so happy this message came across. I'm not happy to see that person having some struggles, is that I think a lot more people go through this than we know about. And it's always the last message I get from people that portray that they're kicking ass and taking names. And all of a sudden I get the message saying, I decided I'm going to go do this or go work here or go whatever. And you realize, that's not really the story. The story is that they couldn't make it in the business, or they just, blew up their accounts. And there's a few things that I've talked about recently, and I didn't record them, that I think will really help you guys in your journey. And I want to go over those and maybe help guide a little bit of a path. There's strategies to me in this business that no matter what have always seemed easier to me. And it's just like when when you go through everybody's done it. So you go through you're doing great, you're going through the normal routine, and all of a sudden you hit that wall where 2 3 days in a row it's like, what the hell am I seeing? Like I mean, I'm hitting a wall every time I'm trading. This looks good on paper, and then I take the trade, I'm losing, and it's almost like everything you're doing is losing. And what do you do when that happens? Like we try to guide you guys and tell you when you go through those stages, first thing you do is size yourself down. And no matter how long you've been doing this, you're going to continue to go through this. Years ago, not too many years ago, I remember a month I didn't even make money that month, and I just know that's part of the business. It was just one of those months that like everything kind of lined up where it was wrong. I took a couple big hits, a couple big losses, and I had to, just suck it up as that's part of the business. And this was, things like this happen, but you have to know the basics of how to control that. And I think you guys have kind of caught on to that. I see a lot of messages from you guys, now where it seems like, and Ricky says it every morning, preserve the capital, and that's a big part of what we want to do for longevity. Um, but so you're preserving your capital, you size down, and where usually, and let's just use arbitrary numbers. Usually, you trade 500 shares, you take it down to a couple hundred shares. Well, now instead of a $400 loss, you're taking $200 losses every day, or whatever the number is, and you can't figure out how to get your $200 losses and the other side of it to be $400 gains, and that you're scratching your head because every time that's what's kind of happening. So what I want to give you guys, a little cheat sheet on what I think, in my opinion, might help you guys and work to get you back on the right track. Hang on one second. So, let me start by this. I know I talked a lot about some of this in the past, but I really want to take the time to review it again because I don't think you could. There's certain trades to me that will always be easier regardless of the market conditions. Okay, you're not going to convince me otherwise. I never. I know there's guys out here that have been in the business longer than me, but I'm telling you, I've been around the business for since 1992, okay, or 93 rather. I've seen it all, and the one thing that's constant has to do with trends and stuff like that. So that's one thing I want to talk about with you guys is when I get into a situation where I find like a lot of my picks off levels, breakout plays, small cap things, where certain things aren't trading the way that I want them to trade, I always fall back to the same thing, and that is getting back into trends. So, okay. All right, so I still want to hear news, guys, just so we don't miss anything. That was KMI, just purchase of a few 100,000 shares. Um, I think that's like one of the biggest things to help you. Well, you say that's pretty vague. How does that work? Well, I'm going to give you some just real basic thoughts on this, and then we could visit specific trades, to kind of show you and things that I've talked about most recently, and you guys have seen them play out. Is you have to be aware of what's going on with the overall, excuse me, the overall market. Um, like I'm not saying that you can't short a stock in a market that's up 200 points and stuff like that, but I'm talking about when you're having trouble. Okay, let's leave it to that. We're looking at the times that things are not the easiest. What do we fall back on? Every single time I fall back into playing the trend of the overall and the broad markets, it's helped me collect myself. So I always look in what are futures up and all that. I have my SPY up, I have my Qs up, and a little chart next to me, and I watch, not study it, not stare at every uptick and downtick, but have an idea of how the market is trending. And if I see a stock that's up $3 or $4 and the market's up, and I'm just giving you like a crazy example right now. Like if I see the stock market up a couple hundred points or 150 points, what's today, up 100 right now? So the market's up 100 points and I see a stock up $3, I'm not looking for a top on that stock. If the stock has been strong all day in the market, what I'm looking for is what I've shown you guys in the past. For an example, I'm trying to find one right now. Let's try to find one together real quick. I could post it up on the thing. Is I want to find just a pull back to a certain level, and what we've always said. You guys have heard the term a million times: joining the trend. I want to join the trend. Post 10 a.m., you guys should always be looking to join the trend on that name, right? And it's easier to trade stocks that are strong in a strong market, right? Or weak in a weak market. And I think that's a really good, I know some of the stuff is remedial, but guys, there's a difference from hearing it a bunch of times and actually executing the plan. And for those struggling, this is a very, very easy, simple plan, and that's going to keep you out of trouble. Is erase all the names. I know the knife catching names, the trading the parabolics, the exhaustion candles, and all that kind of stuff. Let me see. Okay, so like let's look at like Wayfair. I mean, Wayfair was up there, right? Let's take a look at Etsy. Okay, I mean, we could look at Etsy. I think Etsy is a decent one too. So here I just have Etsy up, but I'm going to go to the day and stuff. How I look at a stock like this. So for me, and I'm not suggesting that I won't trade into a quarterly pivot and stuff like that. I'm talking about the basic stuff. I'm going to talk about that, Ray, but that's not where I want to go with this conversation, because right now we're assuming that you're struggling, okay? We're playing the I'm struggling, how do I make money type of a theory, okay? And identifying relative weakness starts to get into a different game of that, right? Because when we're on our game, we start seeing that a lot clearer than when we don't. So what I'm talking about, what are the easy trades? So you look at an Etsy or something like that. Now we could argue and say, okay, well let's short this thing. It's on a you got a double top here. We could short it. Now can this trade work? Yeah, but this isn't to me the trade if you're struggling right now, because what's going to happen is if you get stopped out, you got yourself another haircut, right? And what's the old saying? 1,000 paper cuts or whatever. I don't know, death by 1,000 paper cuts or some crazy number like that. So going back in this, what I look for, just to give you an example, and is I like to look for a stock that's kind of held VWAP, pulled back here, maybe tested. You guys know I play the open, the blue line's the open, and it's kind of reclaimed VWAP. What I'd rather see on something like this is a pull to a key level on a name that's strong, waiting for that turn. And you could argue, Etsy's a good example. I would just draw a simple trend line, right? Wait for that turn, and this is a 5-minute right now I'm looking. Wait for that turn and play it off key levels. The open's a key level, right? I've shown you a million charts now that the open matters. I'm not saying it's the hold all, it's always going to hold or always resist, but it's a key level. It just always seems to do that. So, but these are the easier trades, an up stock and an up market. Look at the daily, nice trend on the daily and strong, right? There goes CIFS again. So these are the type of things that I want you guys, if you're struggling, to kind of fall back on. And that's trend of the market and trend of the name. Find the strong stocks in a strong market and trade them accordingly. So what we did, what was the one yesterday? I think that we had a nice trade. There was and it was a down stock. It pushed up on VWAP and failed it. When it broke the downtrends, stuff like that is what, those are the type of setups in a weak market or something like that. Those are the type of trades I think that you got to always look out for. Was it Pan W that we did? I know my memory's terrible. Don't make fun of me. So you had a stock, PANW, right? And it was a late day trade. So what did I do? Is we traded, I don't remember whether there's this push or this push. But you wait for that push into a VWAP. It was down on the day, right? Weak stock. Traded it right into it, and it comes back. Same thing here. Trade it into the trend, pulls back. And those are the type of... This is actually not the day before. Hang on.
CIFS.
I think it was a few days ago. Here it is. I actually had it drawn, right? So anyway, but these are the type of things that I want to, it was a below VWAP, pushed into VWAP, failed on the trend, right? But these aren't like, it's not these all work. I want you guys to understand that it's hard. It's a hard business, and part of the hard part about it, I really believe one of the hardest things is avoiding the trades that aren't making sense to you right now. There's going to be times that you see everything so clear, you're going to be nailing it. 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 trades, you're like bang, bang, bang. If you trade that many, if you trade, a few, you're going to hit 3 out of 3. You got them all right today, and you're just seeing things clearly. But what I want to talk to you guys about is finding the easy ways. So Adversely, in a weak market, we're gonna look for those stocks that were super heavy in the morning. You have all that volume that brought it down, and it pushes into a key level, a VWAP, a prior high, resistance, or whatever, and trade those. So what I do in talking about the thought process here is you have to get in your mind like cutting back everything and going back to basics. So that's the first thing you guys want to get back on track, jump back into the trends, get back into what's working, what's a lot easier to identify, and has a market in favor for you, because there's nothing like fighting a short in a strong market. And no matter what, at some point the sellers are going to give up and think they can make a higher sale, right? And that's just part of the game. Next thing about that I want to go into is another thing. If I were to ask, I know it's not going to work now, but if I were to ask 10 of you guys on voice, what your biggest money winners are, I feel like 8 out of 10 of you guys would probably say news related. And it's the easiest thing in the world to trade, to me at least. Some of you guys short the initial pops off the news, and some of you guys, trade the retraces like myself. But news plays are money plays. And we as traders we have to take the blame and look in the mirror when we don't sit on our hands and wait for that to happen. And I'm looking forward. Suni took a whole month. Okay, I'm not going to ruin his whole thing for you guys tomorrow or whenever he publishes this thing next week. But he took a whole month. He dedicated. And I've had just so you know, him and I have talked, and we talked about ideas, and he's really into the news stuff. And everybody knows the Sunni setups and all that. We've always joked about him, and he was doing well with them. But he felt like there was a bigger opportunity, and he took a whole month and dedicated to that. And the last thing that I've heard from him, and I know he's not on the desk right now, is he had his biggest month trading only one setup all month. His biggest month playing news plays. And there's a couple keys to that I want to go over. First of all, he found himself more comfortable in news plays, which allowed him to do what? What happens when you're comfortable to trade? What do you tend to do? Exactly. Size up. So he ended up taking more size on certain things that maybe he wouldn't have in the past. And that's the other thing. One of the biggest things, Ray, believe it or not, I'm glad you brought that up, that he was, and I think he's okay with me talking about this because we all have little funny quirks as far as things that are going on with our trading, is he was getting into these good trades, and he was struggling with letting trades pan out, which is going to go to the second part of my topic, which is from the message I got when I was telling you their losses are bigger than their gains. He was allowing that's all part of trading. Remember I talked to you guys a long time ago and I said, when you put on a trade and you put on a 2-to-1 trade, and let's say the stock's $30, okay, and you're getting long it at 30, just using a just crazy example, and you think that there's upside to 31 and you're going to risk 29 and a half, so you're risking 50 cents to make $1, okay? That doesn't mean to be out of your position after 30 or 40 cents and say, well, the risk reward was there. That's not how to do risk reward. Okay, risk reward in your mind, and I know that you always got to tweak it based on the situation and how the stock acts at certain key levels and stuff, is where you think you're going to make your first sales. Okay, and again, every trade is different. You make little adjustments as you go. But I find so many folks making a problem when they look at a trade and they go, wow, this is easy. I could short 100,000 VAL, risk 1250 on VALE, right? I'm going to get short at 1230, and I'm going to cover, that's 20 cents, and I'm going to cover at 1170 or 1180. That's 3-4 to 1 or whatever. And then all of a sudden, they're covered at for 10 cents, and they're like, great trade, whatever, I sized in. That'll get you in the long run. Trust me, guys. That's not the way to trade. When you enter a trade, you have to understand that your initial targets have to be at least 2 to 1. And it doesn't mean not to take little bits on a long way, if that's what the market's telling you. I'm never saying you're locked in, and that you got to ride it back down and do a round tripper. But you want to know that when I look at this name, this is what I truly, genuinely think this is going to do, based on this and based on this data and based on my experience.
BSQR, BSQR,
BSQR.
BSQR.
BSQR, guys, real quick. Microsoft agreement.
BSQR, BSQR, BSQR,
Stated
BSQR,
OEM
I'm in. BSQR.
filing a
BSQR,
couple days ago. Bravo Sierra, Quebec Romeo.
Hang on, guys. BSQR. I took some BSQR.
Says the agreement will expire on June 30th and not be renewed. So basically, it's the same news that the agreement
I'm out.
with Microsoft for B-Square will expire June 30th, 2019 and not be renewed. Bravo Sandy Kilo Romeo.
Give me 1 second, guys. All right. Just watching this BSQR for a second, okay? It's funny because this BSQR that they saying it's not going to be renewed, it almost sounds like a negative thing for the company, right?
Yeah, I heard the way I heard that was a short.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell? Pretty crazy. I just heard BSQR, saw the volume, and heard Microsoft. I want to make sure I took something in. I got out even. In and out. All right, go back to my thing. Sorry, guys. Just don't want to. I told you I'm going to still trade the news. It seems like it should be a short, especially with a couple 100,000 share candle. Pretty interesting. Hang on a sec. Let me look at this. Right down. If this does a crazy move up into 270, I'm going to short it. Give me 1 sec. All right. Back to your regularly scheduled program. Sorry, guys. Hang on one sec. As a matter of fact, while I'm taking this break for a sec, I'm going to get back into it. But 1 second, I want to check on something my kids just got in. 1 sec. Sorry about that, guys.
Settling at 55.80 and about 2.5%.
All right. So anyway, just going back, guys. What we were talking about with news, and I just want to throw that back out there.
Crude futures sell at 55.80 a barrel, down $1.42.
I feel like this thing's gonna have a huge wash. Just making sure there was no mess. Go back to news. News plays, guys, to me, are the easiest plays, and I don't know whether you guys have a system, and it's okay. You can play them with small size.
CSP
A lot of
is
people
rating 1 notch to triple B plus.
that I know are getting hurt right now in the market are doing a couple things. Is they're following other people's ideas. Okay, that's number one way. And then the other way is they're using too many scanners. And what happens is you get this FOMO stuff going, whatever I love that word. But it is. What happens? You see 4,000 things hitting your scanners and stuff like that, and you start jumping on everything that's hitting. Especially it's like, oh my God, this thing! Look at how big it's hitting. And you haven't learned how to read those scanners and understand the different vehicles, whether it's big caps or mid caps or small caps or whatever, and how the big picture works with when they hit the scanners. They're already into a chat pump and all that kind of stuff. And I've talked to you guys about like why I swing some of these, turds that set up on the daily and stuff like that. Um, Man, this BSQR. This is going to end up being a big fade. So that's another thought process. The other thing is having the bigger losses um, versus the gains. A lot of that has to do with, and I don't know whether the person that sent me this is doing this or not. It has to do with, how much money you're making on your winners, and not as much as if you're sticking to a plan on your losers. It has to do with your winners. And I think that's a big issue a lot of people have. There's two sides of that. There's one side where you're trading your mental P&L. Let's assume that everybody doesn't have P&L sitting up on their desk so they know whether they're up $463.50 or not. But you can't stare at your P&L, and you can't trade the stock like it's your P&L. And it's a big issue for most folks, unfortunately. How to get through that has a lot to do with being comfortable with where you're at in your career, and also where you're at size wise. But there's nothing worse that you get a trade on and you think it's a great idea, and you're flat on the day because you took a loss and made a little bit, and you're flat, and you realize the day's coming to an end. You're like, man, I could at least lock in $200 and it's not a waste of a day. Any of you guys done that before? Well, listen, I mean, those are the type of things that are going to destroy you in trading, believe it or not. I know it sounds sexy and sounds cool, and hey, I made money today. I got through another day. The idea isn't to make it through the day, or just get by. You want to make a career. You want to get to a consistency and to be able to size in more and more. And you gotta find a place to allow your runners to run. One of the ways that I've always found success in being able to stay in a trade more, there's two ways, is adjusting your size accordingly. A lot of times it sounds really funny, but have you guys ever noticed that you want to take off a bigger trade more than you do a small trade? Like if your normal size is 500 shares and you're in a stock for 100 shares or whatever, have you ever found yourself being more patient with the stock? You guys ever realize that? Do you guys know why that is? Because there's a real reason. I'd like to hear what you guys have to think, why you think it is. Yeah, there's no emotional connection to it. And what happens when you lose the emotional connection to it? When you lose the emotional connection to a stock, what do? You start trading the fundamentals of the stock and the technicals of the stock. You understand? And for some reason, we think that trading bigger is the thing that makes us, hurt. Sometimes, or is going to make us more money. Sometimes getting to that comfort zone in the size that makes you comfortable with letting a trade work, you end up making more money. I've known people that will trade 1,000 shares of a stock, cut it all the way back to where they should have been originally at 200 or 300 shares, and are consistently making money on stock trading. And it's because they lose that, oh my God, it's pulling back, and they micromanage the trade. You understand? So you're like looking at every tick. Was that an exhaustion candle? Is this the top? I see this the top from 6 days ago, blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, you're out of the trade, and the trade does exactly what you think it was going to do. But when you're less attached to the emotional side of the trade, and you look at the technicals of the trade, you allow that trade to do it. And one of the most successful ways I've found to do that in letting a trade work is to work on, work on trailing. Try to work on seeing how trailing does for you. Hang on one sec. CRE. Just don't want to miss an opportunity if it pops up. So a little volume candle in CRE. Adjust your size to a point where you're less emotional about the trade. Try it. Try it for 1 month. You know what? I know it's hilarious. I've challenged you guys, and every so often, actually, I do get messages. So I don't want to throw the baby in with the bathwater type thing, but like majority of folks won't even try things. Like I'll be like, listen, I know this works. I've done it. I've been doing this a long time. Try this. See if it helps you. And I message a person and say, so did you make that adjustment? No, I'm doing okay. Had a decent week. And I'm like, okay, I'm giving you an answer to exactly what's going to make you better. You don't want to try it. Guys, the reason I've been able to be in this business as long as I have, and I've told you guys this, I've told you my career, how little I've gone to college and all these things, and how hard it is for me to study, is I've listened to people that are successful. Okay? And if you guys want to be successful, listen to advice from other people. Don't be so egotistical and think you have it all figured out. Learn one thing from somebody and make yourself better. It's a shame. The one thing that sucks about this business is that 90% of the people, of course that doesn't include anybody in this room because we're not like this, but 90% of the people that are in stock trading or in general are egotistical. Okay, they have big egos, and I say we have big egos, and we don't want to. Yeah, it's sad, but it's the truth. It's this part of the business. I remember when I started off opening accounts in '93, and I was one of the fastest account openers, and I got to be start opening my own accounts, and I'd do a good trade, and these guys weren't making huge money, but whatever, 50 grand a month, 100 grand a month, and I had my first month where I made 30 grand or something like that, which was tons of money for a 23-year-old kid or 24-year-old kid, whatever I was at the time. And I'd be like on top of the world. Do you think these guys high-fived me? No. They felt threatened. They were like, no, I'm not going to high-five you. Screw you. You suck. They want to knock you back down. And guys that have been around forever, Franco, you know this. I mean, some of you guys that have been around forever, I know Mark's gone, but you guys know how it is out there. It's been like that for 25 years that I've known it. I've never met a business where people are genuinely not happy for other people that are successful. It's just everybody's full of egos and feel like they have to be the best and all that kind of stuff, and it's sad. It's ill wishers. It's exactly that. And Franco's been in the business longer than me, just so you know. And I mean that makes him older too, by the way. But listen, I mean it's really the truth, and it's the same way in stock trading. And the point being is that we have these crazy egos where we don't want to admit our weaknesses, and we don't want to admit that we could learn from other people. God forbid somebody taught me something and I had to give them credit. It's stupid. And I've told you guys this in my webinars, sometimes when I come on a little Twitter thing or whatever you call that stupid thing, live thing, is that you got to be able to look in the mirror. And understand, this is the truth. This is really how it is. So you guys that are struggling right now, take a deep breath. The first thing I said to this person that sent me a message wasn't like, sorry to hear you're failing, and hopefully you find a better career. Everybody goes through this. 100%. Everybody. Is there anybody in this room that has ever picked this up and been doing this longer than 5 years that didn't take a big huge drawdown or something like that? I mean, let me know. You'd be the first person I ever met that hasn't taken a big hit. And I've told you I've taken 6-figure hits in the past and stuff like that. It sucks. But until you are able to identify what happens and make those adjustments, you scale back, you realize what you're doing wrong. Remember I talked to you guys, I don't think it was my webinar. I know I'm rambling, Ricky, I haven't even given you a breath in here. But it was a point where I was talking about, I'm trying to remember when it was that I was, it's kind of like the adjustments. I don't know how else to say it. It's adjustments that you need to make. I don't know. I could keep rambling on about this stuff. Sorry, guys. But going back to the basics of what will help you guys, um, go back to some basic things. Size yourself down, okay? Make sure that when you're evaluating yourself in a trade, that it is a true 2-to-1 ratio. If you're struggling, trade the trends of the market along with the trends of the stocks. You should be able to identify, and I've made the mistake. Just you guys have watched me take trades. I'll tell you, I'm in the stock, and the other day, what was the stock? Zara made a great trade on it. PYX, you guys remember that? I was long PYX. All the TLRYs and Crons and all the other pot stocks were hooting and hollering and puffing smoke. In the meantime, PYX was just barely struggling to stay at a level. Should I have identified that as what we call, what did you say earlier, Ray? Relative weakness, right? It could be within the market, it could be within the industry, whatever it is. Right? You guys remember that day? Was it a few days ago? Identify those things. Don't pick those names. You don't want to pick a stock that has relative weakness to go long in a strong market and hope you're catching the bottom. There's a reason for the relative weakness, guys. That's why they call it that. All right? And be okay with not trading. Be okay with sitting on your hands. It's not about, I always encourage you guys, I want you guys to learn every strategy out there. I know that's it's selfish of me, but I really do. I wish you guys could learn every different strategy out there. And it is the best trade, Diesel. Sometimes sitting on your hands is the best trade. Hey, what's the big joke? Cash is the position, right? You guys heard that one a couple times. But I really want to see, why is meat getting volume? M-E-E-T. I'm all over the place. MEET. You see T98 around to see if there's anything out there?
MEET, Michael Echo Echo Tango, meat group popping to the high, $6.25. That's Michael Echo Echo Tango.
You're late, Charlie. Not doing anything with meat. So, getting back on track with you guys is there are so many different strategies. I want to kind of end this part of it, and I want to talk a little bit more in depth about maybe questions you guys have about charting or other strategies and things like that. You got to get to the basics of what's going to help you. Everybody has a strength, I promise you. There's a reason why I'm probably 65-70% long bias when I look at stocks. The fades that I like to take are weak stocks in a weak market, push on VWAP, push on prior close. Big pushes all day that kind of start failing, and I think they're going to pull back to VWAP, and the market's just okay, not a big deal. Obviously those, I like, what we used to call the Sunni setups too. When they break key levels, they have big moves over a couple days, and then you fade it out. I do take shorts. There's all different types of strategies, but one of the big things I wish I could teach you guys is everybody has a strength. I know some of you guys that are making money now have identified that. You've done the key things. If I were to ask guys, and I'm just picking on Edson for a sec because he commented the other day about he found his level. There's going to be a point in your career where you find your best setups, 1, 2, 3, whatever it is, and you're going to find. He said something that you guys might have missed the other day that was, I think, really, really important. Is you're going to find your size. You're going to find where it's important to you guys. And we all think we want to get up to 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 shares to be able to short or long or whatever. That might not be the best situation for you guys. Sizing to you might be 1,000 shares, and you're just an animal with 1,000 shares because you let your winners win, you cut your losers, you're not scared of the couple $100 little haircuts. But some people can't react well, and they get too stressed out and they get sick. You guys don't want to get sick. But I don't remember the numbers, but even Edson was talking the other day about what he went through. And it was like an epiphany. I took it by what he wrote, and I don't want to, but it almost like was something he said. You know what? He cut down his profits by 1/5 or 1/4 size, with what I remember, and all that stress that he was burdening from trying to make 5 grand a day or a few grand a day, whatever that number was, went away, and he all of a sudden became happy with the career he was in. I'm paraphrasing it, I think. Edson's been around our room for a while, so I think he's fine with me talking about this and using that example. But I think that's so important, guys. And I think you guys, I wish you guys, I could show you guys how to find that window. Concentrate on the window where you're trading the charts, you're trading the proper setups, you're not scared of locking in your plans. Trust me, guys, I've been in a trade before, okay, where I've looked at what I'm down unrealized and said, I don't want to lock that in right now. Let me just see, make sure it doesn't. You know how many times I've done that? Of course you have.
Decision to allow one-way extradition if it's 2%.
Why is WFT's turd moving?
From the Chinese government after meeting.
But that's kind of what, yeah, that's what he's saying. It was, and that's probably why it was frozen. Is there becomes a level where you think you're making so much more money, but first of all, it's killing you literally, and second of all, you might make 3 grand, 5 grand, 5 grand, and then all of a sudden, boom, you take a giant one, and it's like, holy crap, because you're scared to lock in those unrealized. That it happens, and it gets you realize that it's such a better window just doing this, and size is such an important thing, guys. And we all have this thing when you hear guys have been around, I'm sizing in. What does that mean? It means they're trading. I'm going to tell you guys the definition of sizing in. You ready?
Chinese embassy in Canada says China is utterly dissatisfied with and firmly opposes Canadian decision to allow Huawei extradition case to proceed.
Come on, Charlie. That was a mid-thought. All right. The definition to me of sizing in is going into the size that makes you trade the stock the way it should be traded. Max size allowing you to trade the stock the way it should be traded. Do you guys understand that? It's not a certain... Nice trade, Ricky, by the way. I don't know if you're on mute or not. I know I'm rambling forever. But
Yeah, I'm muted. I'm muted just because I'm actually trading too, and I'm
yeah.
I gotta focus a little.
Yeah, sorry, bud.
You're good, dude.
But you guys have to put on a size of what allows you to trade the stock exactly how that stock should be traded. What will allow you to give it till the spot that you are giving it to when you put on the trade. It's going to allow it to get to the profits that you want, and not size in because you think you're going to make more money. And I wish you guys would learn that. And I think that a lot of people that get hurt and they say, I'm going to size in now, I'm going to go size in. First of all, they double or triple their size. Titus has talked to you about this a million times. You don't double or triple your size. You go up 10%, 15%. Increase your size. See how it feels for a couple. I promise you guys that you will feel differently physically when you start getting to a certain size. 100%. And don't tell me otherwise. I know this for a fact, okay? Everybody has their size. It gives them a physical reaction. So take yourself up slowly. So your reaction and because we all know what our unrealized P&Ls are and stuff, guys. So I think that the key things, if you guys are struggling and you're trying to figure out what your setup is and this and that, go back to a couple basics. And if you're going to try a new setup, I will tell you guys, I can't paper trade. Okay, I'd rather trade 100 shares of a stock, or 50 shares if you're trading Amazon or something like that, whatever. But a crazy small number, whatever's your small number, to be actually physically in the trade. I want to feel it a little bit. I want to be like, ooh, there's a new style for me. Let me do this. I don't care what it is. Trade like a tiny thing. If you're learning and you're trying new things, trade that way with new things. Okay? And for all your other things, don't assume that you increasing the size of shares you're trading is going to benefit your P&L. Okay? And if you're finding yourself 50-50 on trades, that probably means that you're trading setups that are not really valuable setups. And that's probably that's coming down to. And if you're struggling with setups and what you think might be a good trade, go over those specific setups with one of us and say, hey, this is what I do. I can't tell. I'm so proud about over the, whatever, a couple years. I don't even know how long we've been doing this now. How many people have actually reached out and gone over their setups with me and taken the time and said, what do you think? I trade these parabolics. I trade this. I trade these exhaustion candles, these breakpoints, whatever it is. I use this average, that average. I mean, there's so many different setups, and that's the genius about our business. If you guys haven't learned this yet, there are so many ways to make money in this business. It could get confusing, and a lot of you guys are confusing yourselves because you hear guys like Ricky, myself, Titus, Monaco all talking about it. But you're leaving a big fact out there, and this isn't pulling rank. Titus has been doing this 25 years. I've been around 25 years. If you guys have been doing this for a few years, of course we have different, ammo in our gun. Okay, it's just fact because we've seen it. We've actually what do they say? There's a difference between intelligence and wisdom, right? What you read in a book compared to your experiences. Simple as that. It doesn't make you bad or worse. It's okay to. Nice. Hang on one second. Sorry. Listen, I just want you guys could tell I'm passionate about trying to help you guys. For the gentleman that wrote me earlier about your struggles, it's normal. I would tell you the 3 things that I would do immediately is change your size to the point where you're going to let your winners run. Go over your setups and what you're trying to trade and what comes best to you. Every single one of you have a setup that you see clearest. I don't care whether it's I want to go over the setups. I promise you, I'm 100% sure of this, okay? You're going to see certain things better than others. Focus on the couple things. I never say one thing, okay? And hide your damn P&Ls, even though we're all smart and we could all know, hey, if I'm, 1,000 shares and I'm down 20 cents, yeah, it's a couple $100, whatever. Listen, just trade the chart. Have the charts up in front of you. Watch certain levels. Try trailing your stops and things like that. I don't know whether you guys are doing that, but if you're struggling, there's nothing wrong with trailing your stops. Just don't get too aggressive on your trails. A lot of people will stop yourself out, but there's nothing wrong with that. Like, let's say you're trading a stock and you're trying to get $1 out of it and it moves 30, 40 cents. Put your stop to even. You could always buy it back. There's nothing wrong with retrading a stock. You know what I mean? If you find yourself, in those type of situations where you're like, oh, and it doesn't work on the first push or second push, throw your stop up to even, or a few cents above it. Do little things to kind of protect. It all comes down to protecting your capital, which is the same thing, capital preservation, right? So I mean, these are like little things. I think that teach yourself with screen time to be less ambitious. There's something that I think is completely wrong with people that I've heard, okay? And that is, it's kind of a funny thing. We control the buttons, we hit the mouse, we know, we execute the trades. I hate when people say, and it's not selfish, guys. I'm not making millions of dollars being part of this chat service. I do this because I love you guys and I want to help you, okay? But where I'm going with this is, being in a chat service or a community should do nothing but help you guys. Use it as a scanner. That's all. As simple as that. Yes, you're going to find guys within the room that trade a little bit more similar to you, and I've encouraged you guys, set up little private, chats with the people in there and message each other and be like, hey, I know you like this setup too. What do you think, But don't give me the old, man, there's too much noise and being in the community, I can't concentrate. Well, listen, use it as a scanner, guys. That's what you want. You need to have scanners, okay, to be able to look. And when you hear something, because we all miss them. The other day, I think it was Pan W was brought to me by somebody in the room. I don't know if it was Ray or somebody.
Yeah, Ray.
I mean, that's what it's about. That's an exact example. I'm not looking. I'm doing this. Goose, this is one of your setups. Push right into here. Cass sends them to me all the time. I've been talking about those trend breaks. Out of the blue, will send me something. I love that stuff. You guys got to do the same exact thing. Is use this as a setup. Oh wow, I trade these exact longs when they break these levels. Good eye, or when they clearing a pre-market level or something like that. Don't tell me how it's too much noise. It's you guys hitting the button. You know what I mean? This we have some really really good minds in here, and ridiculous news service. We have a lot of people adding news and posting things right away and all that, which is phenomenal. So that's the way that I would go about for the gentleman that sent me earlier. Is that's what I would I would jump in your size, adjust your size to something more comfortable, trail your stops, and I would get back to just trading a couple things that make sense to you. And the easiest ones to me have always been going with the trend of the market and news plays. And if you're able to add other things as you go, do that. Review your trades. At the end of the day, and if you're having setups that you guys are struggling with and you don't know whether it's a viable setup or not, talk to somebody. But don't just start adding all kinds of pivots and lines and averages and all that kind of crap just because you see it working for me or Ricky or Titus or somebody like that. That's a crock. Discover your own. I said this to you guys every single time I've talked about what do you use on your chart. There's a billion lines. How could you even see that? I don't even see it anymore. I just know when it's at certain levels. I look at price and I say, okay, it's approaching this and this. So it's not confusing to me. I automatically look up at my Haishinaki, my RSI. I look at everything now. And it's just second nature. It'll be the same way for you guys. But you guys got to discover. And what I say to you guys, it doesn't matter whether I'm using a 100 SMA, a 50 EMA, whatever that funny one T98 showed me the other day. I have on here, I think, the 34, whatever. Find one that works for you, because what's going to happen is you're going to understand the action of the name. You're going to get used to seeing how it reflects off that level. Simple way to look at it. So some people, I always feel like I'm a big believer in VWAP is king and price and volume is king, and I always think you should have one moving average in there. And that's just me. But do one that makes sense to you. You don't need to have 6 or 7 or 10 or whatever. And I think pivots are important, but that's just me. It doesn't mean they have to be important for you. And I know somebody, and I'm not going to mention who it was, that started trading pivots like crazy. And I talked to them, and they were trading everything off pivots and losing money. And that's not how to trade them. There's certain aspects of it that they have to be traded at. So don't think you can just add things in and be like, every time I'm going to short it off a monthly or a weekly or a quarterly. That's not how the game works. There's certain names. You want a sharp move. You want certain things about it. Certain pivots. Monthly pivot, the first, the second, and the third all react differently. The percentages go up on each pivot. Certain things. There's a lot of stuff behind there. So there's a lot to charting. If you want to learn more, ask. Everybody's willing to help, but the biggest thing is guys, be willing to help yourselves, and be honest with yourself. Don't say I'm doing great, I'm fine, if you're barely making it and struggling and can't find your setup. The longer you take to look in the mirror is going to be the longer it takes you to be successful. I can promise you that. So, Ricky, you want to add anything?
No, it was really, I really agree with everything you're saying. And what we've been pointing out a lot lately is, and at least I've been trying to, is that there's so many strategies, and not everyone in this room trades the same strategy. And it's, some people are just looking at support and resistance. Others are looking at trends. Some are looking at moving at averages. Some are using Keltner belts. Some are using the clouds. Some are using like all these different things, right? And what's cool is if you learn to listen to people and not judge them, but just try to listen and see from their point of view, it helps you to see other perspectives. But at the same time, you can see when perspectives line up, when there's confluence. So like, there's times when I started drawing trend lines and watching these trend line breaks like Goose is always talking about, but sometimes they'll coincide perfectly with my setup as well, which would be just like a little bit of a lower high and then a crack of a level. And I'm like, dude, how much better do I feel taking this trade knowing that there's people that use Goose's strategy, they're seeing the same thing I'm seeing, not even using my strategy, right? So there's going to be that many more eyes on the trade and that much more follow through usually on the trigger point for me. And I just think there's a lot of resources for people to use in here just based on listening to other people and trying to I honestly really believe you can learn something from everyone. Like there's from the most basic beginner to somebody that's been trading forever. Because you know what's funny is sometimes the most basic beginners haven't made things more complex in their mind than they need to, which some of us who've been trading longer tend to do, right? You tend to overcomplicate things. And a lot of the younger guys that are just coming in see things from the fundamentals. And sometimes that's what we need is to take it back to those basic fundamentals. And so that is why I think you can seriously learn something from everyone and try to take something good from everyone and try to be the same when you provide for the community. Try to be somebody that's doing that for others in return. Guys, this BPTH, I think that crack might have been it. I am still kind of stalking it.
I want to find out if, because we've been recording, does anybody have any questions for Ricky or myself that you want to cover on the recording thing? Then we could take it off for the last 45 minutes or so if we're going to see, try to catch one of these news or anything. I know we covered a lot. I know I rambled a lot, but I know we were recording. I wanted to try to throw different things in there so people could listen back. But if there's anything else that I know I wouldn't mind having a chart session with Titus. You guys think that'd be pretty cool? Just regarding a trailing stop. I mean, like just as an example, like let's say, which one were you long today? SIFs.
Mm-hmm.
You were long a bunch of names, I know. So let's take a look at this. What's this one that you spanked earlier?
Dude, I actually took that off for a small loss because I was trying to hold for bigger picture, and obviously now it's gone.
So what I'll do is, like, let's say we're looking, at a trailing stop. Like let's say you got long on this break right here on SIFs, okay, 270. And like let's say you want to risk VWAP, which would be 260, okay? So let's say you're risking maybe just below it, 255, okay? 15 cents, and you're looking for a $3 push. So you're just going through a live example with you. So it makes that break, right? You don't get stopped out. And we're doing a pretend trade here, guys. It breaks this level here, which is beautiful. 275 starts pushing up. At some point, like let's say your target, you're risking 10 cents or 15 cents. So you're looking for a 3 push, so you're going to lose some in the 280s, high 280s and 290s and $3 or whatever it was your target, okay, Pano? What I would normally do is once it hits my first target, like mid 280s, at that point, I like to trail my stop a little bit. You could wait a little bit more, but when I say trail my stop, if my stop order was originally 260 or 255, I'll bump it up into, and this is a hard one because it's so clear like where to do it. Once you could bump it up to you could either allow it to see if it tests this level again, or you could just put it up to even. Thank you, T98 on RSN. And that's all I'm talking about with the trailing the stop. So you've taken a tick. The other side of it is let's say this stock did something different for a second. Just do a make-believe trade. Okay, let's say we're here, okay, Pano? And the stock starts pushing, and let's say it fails here and comes back to like 270 or something like that, right? And then pushes again and kind of stuffs it again at like 270, Pano. That might be another time where I bump my stop up a little bit and be like, you know what? It's kind of stuffing this area. I thought it would go through, after 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and I'll bring my stop back to even again.
For JetBlue, ticker JBLU, company filing for a potential mixed shelf offering, no size disclosed. That's Juliet Bravo Lima uniform.
JetBlue, huh? Mixed shelf. So that's all I was talking about. So the two things I trail on a stop is when the stock starts becoming profitable for me. Sometimes I'll trail part of my stop. If I have good size and I want to, protect myself size wise, if I'm long 5,000 shares, I might trail 2,500 of the shares to break even and leave the rest on for my original stop in case it tests it and keeps going. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Everybody has their own way. But try to recognize, action at certain levels. Like if you look at right now, this CIFS, right? These were all levels from earlier, right? 275, 280. If it stuffs in that area, maybe that's a reason to, trail your stop. If it, makes another high, double top, and it fails that breakout, I'd rather revisit it, see it hold VWAP, and do it again, and try to get a better average. RKDA. Any other questions, guys? I hope that's helpful, guys, when we come on and do this. And I know I tend to ramble a lot, and hopefully you guys can get one thing out of it.
That was gold. I think everybody in the room would agree. You guys don't think that's rambling, right?
Well, I appreciate it. I try to just, I feel, I hate seeing when folks struggle, but it's just part of our business, and it is what it is. And you guys got to remember, like, this. Another last thing I'll say is, do whatever you guys can, and what's going to help you is your size, to compartmentalize whatever the last trade you did, whether it's a win or a loss. Put it behind you and realize this is what we're here to do. We take losses and we take gains, and it's not. You got to manage your highs and your lows, and that's all I can tell you guys. And the sooner that you guys learn to do that, the more successful you're going to be. And please, guys, don't care what anybody else is doing. Find the size that works for you guys. PEBO?
PEBO company receiving regulatory
PEBO?
merger with First Prestonsburg.
Nothing there. No volume. No, never mind.
Echo Bravo Oscar.
It's part of it. I do ramble a lot, Suni. All right, guys, I'm going to cut the. I'm going to stay on screen share, but I'm going to cut the recording. I did record it for you guys that might have missed, and we'll throw it in the library at some point. But I am going to stop it. It's over an hour. I do ramble.